Hi folks, welcome back to the Model Railway. Just another quick update on the progress of the rebuilding of the layout, or half the layout should I say. Pleased to say that I've now got the fiddle yard fully laid. Quite pleased with it. Certainly a big improvement on what I had before. Can actually hold longer trains now. And the track is all now down. Most of the point work is installed. I'm just actually waiting for a few pico small radius electro frog points, which I've got on back order. It seems that pico are out of stock at the moment, so just waiting for those. But essentially this end of the fiddle yard, the points have all been laid, new points, and they're all electro frog, and they all have the point motors mounted underneath the points. I used the old solenoid point motors, which I've had for years. I've got a whole box of those, so I didn't really want to spend money on necessarily putting any different point motors, say slow action point motors or anything, in the fiddle yard section, because really this section at the end of the day, it won't actually be seen anyway, really, because it'll be behind a back scene. So I just used the solenoid PL10, the old point motors, which I just clipped to the base of the point, and underneath that there's the PL13 Pico PL13 changeover switch, which switches the current, the polarity of the current on the frog, so it makes it that much more reliable. And the other thing which I did on all the, I don't know if I can zoom in on this, is to actually solder a wire between the two stop rails, so that the power is not depending on the contact of the switch, should I say. I'm not saying this very well. It's not dependent on the blade of the point touching the rail, so therefore if that actually gets dirty there, the current will still be actually on each of these rails. But you do need to make sure that you solder the two stop rails together, and also cut the little bit of wire underneath the two rails there, which lead up to the frog. It's all on the back of the instructions are all on the back of the pico points anyway, but I thought I'd actually take time and do that, which will hopefully result in much more reliable operation of these pico points. So there we are. That's the new fiddle yard there. Gives you an idea of some of the trains that I can keep in there now. Right over the back there I actually stock, I think it's a 10 coach train, and then 6 coaches on the second road, 4 or 5 on the middle roads, and then back out again here, 4 or 5 or 6 coaches on these roads, or a combination of shorter trains, of course. So this end of the fiddle yard, I'm still waiting for those points. I've got a couple here ready to go in, but now that the apertures are being cut for the point motors, and they're all ready to go, really. The point motors are actually attached to the points, but all I've got to do is unclip those motors, put in the new points, put in the frog switch, and we're ready to go. So for those point motors, I've decided to use micro switches. I don't know how those are going to work out. Rather than the PL13s, which I understand can be slightly unreliable. I've used them before with mixed success, really, the PL13s, the pico point polarity switches. I think the basic problem I had before is you actually have to glue them onto the solenoid point motor, which I did using super glue. Now it's been pointed out to me since that super glue is not really ideal for that because it's a bit too runny, and what happened was I think that some of the glue actually got into the mechanism. So what Pico actually recommend is an impact adhesive such as Evo stick. So I've used that, just a little bit of Evo stick on those switches up the other end, and we'll see how those go. But for these ones I've decided to use the micro switches, but I'm not really too sure how to fit them on at the moment. What it is, there's a little tail on the micro switch which makes contact with the tie bar of the point motor, which comes out underneath, and you have to kind of line it up so that it makes contact with the switch. So it might be a bit beyond me actually, but we'll see how it goes anyway. But I've only got 1, 2, 3, I've got 6 of those to do, so we'll see how those go. Now I'm pleased to report that the lift out section has been very successful indeed. As I say, I kept it very, very simple. I just cut an L-shaped piece of birch ply, and literally it just rests here on the batten at the back of the wall. It rests here on a batten on the baseboard, and another batten here on the baseboard, and it's just literally held in with these, held into position should I say, with these 2 screws either side here. 1, 2 screws there, and I just keep that little thing there just as a, just to keep it in position. And touch wood, despite the great variations of temperature over the last few weeks, it's been very cold here recently. But I've had the have a small electric fire on in the layout room as well, which keeps it nice and warm in the evenings, and then cool at night obviously when the heating goes off. Central heating is not on just yet. We'll see what happens, but I'm reasonably confident that this lift out section will not shift around much at all, actually, not like the old one where I had to continually adjust it to keep the trains on the rails. But so far, touch wood, all is working well and no derailments, I'm pleased to say. So that's a great success. Now with regard to the other junction here, the other side where I realign the tracks used to go around here, from the old lift out section used to go across here if you remember, and now I've changed the door so that the door opens now outwards from the room. We've now got all this space around the back here, so I've realigned the tracks, and it's much better actually. The only problem is, and I didn't realise this until I started coming to fit the point motors, was that I'd laid the track very, very close to the edge of the baseboard. So under there's battens, so I couldn't actually cut holes for the solenoids under the points. So what I've had to do, I've had to use the surface mounted point motors. Now they're quite unsightly really on the surface, because by the time you've got your you've got your adapter plate, which I think is PL12, then you put the clip the point motor on top of that, and then on top of that again is your PL13 frog polarity switch. So all together you've got 3 units there with all the associated wiring, which does actually make for a very untidy looking piece of kit, to be quite honest. But nevertheless, this section here is actually going to be more or less a hidden section anyway, so I'm not too worried. But what I think I'll do, I think I'll follow a bit of a tip that I got from Mans. A shout out here for Mans Robertson. Hello Mans, how you doing? Great progress on your layout. I love the idea of the paper mache, and I think I might actually make a bit of an embankment here of paper mache, and just a bit of a removable section here to cover these unsightly point motors. So that's what I'm hoping to do with that. So that's it, folks. That's about it for now. As I say, just a very brief update of the layout. I'm very pleased with it actually now. I got to a stage about a week ago where I wished I hadn't actually started. You know how it is when everything's up in a heap and it's really untidy and nothing's working, and you think, oh, why did I bother to start? But now it's all coming on quite well. A couple of useful bits that I bought recently. Remember I was saying about these screws for the track. I've decided to screw the track down just either side of the lift out section using self-tapping screws. The smallest I could find were on the internet, which were these ones. But even those are a bit chunky. These are the ones from B&Q or Screwfix, I can't remember, the smallest I could get. These are the ones from the internet, which are the smallest I could get. But since then, I've found some even smaller ones. And these screws come from comes from Layouts for You of March, and what you get is a packet of screws. I think they're I can't remember the price, but they're quite cheap. They're certainly a lot cheaper than buying from the internet. And what you do, you get 90 very small black self-tapping screws in the packet, 90, and they'll be ideal actually for I'm going to use them actually to screw down the points either side of the lift out section. And the reason I'm doing that is because in case I need to actually lift any points, it's going to be that much easier just to take a couple of screws out of each one and be able to lift the points rather than have nails or pins. So that's why I've got these screws for the only thing is with they are very small indeed, and I didn't have a crosshead screwdriver small enough for the screws, but what it is, if you go to Wilko's or one of these places and get one of these small sets of precision screwdrivers, the cheap ones, the very smallest ones, I don't know if you can see that there, probably can't even focus in there, but the very smallest flathead one will actually slot into those screw heads, and you're okay. You do need to drill a small pilot hole as well. That's the only other thing, especially if you're drilling into or screwing into the plywood. So that's about it, folks. That's all I have for you today, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your interest in my layout. As I say, it is coming together now, and we'll catch you again next time. If you've got any comments or likes or dislikes even, I'll be very happy to get your comments anyway. Any suggestions would be more than welcome, and we'll see you again soon. Take care of yourselves, and bye bye for now. Bye bye.